Cheers. Our caffeine.
Oops, 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 oops.
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
Watching another episode of Wide Open and Personal with your host, Haley Gross.
Everybody, this is Bree Marie. You might know her from her social media. And if you don't, go follow them. I'll link them down below. But her Facebook has been popping recently. You've grown in so many followers, and it's been so great to see you grow. So let's talk about it. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Bree. I race a sport modified on dirt. So IMCA is the sanctioning body that I run with. I know that's different from the sanctioning body that you run with. I don't remember what yours is called. I'm sorry. What is yours?
It's UMP. Yeah.
UMP. Okay, I wanted to say that, but I didn't just want to say and that just be a whole like edited song in there. I don't know. But
People
anyway,
would
so
be
I
like, wait.
yeah, sorry. Anyways, I race an IMCA Northern Sport Modified on dirt. I've been doing that for 8 or 9 years now, I think. I was kind of on and off the first, I don't know, six. And then the last handful of years, I started to take it more seriously. I was running with my dad. He got me started in that. We originally started in go-karts when I was younger, flat karts specifically. And then I kind of spread my wings last year and went on my own, ended up owning the entire operation myself. And then was the mechanic on there. I do have a great team though. I've got Brian and Gerald. Shout out to G Dog. Hopefully he sees this and laughs. But they help me out and they've been tremendous. Whether it's at the track in the pits or it's in the garage or running to someone's shop with a lift. They've been a huge help. So that's my racing side. I also do a lot of other things. Cut me off if I'm getting too long-winded.
Oh no.
But I'm
This
okay.
podcast is about you. So this is actually perfect. So I actually have I have notes here. I wrote down that I was gonna like introduce you in a certain way. And then I was like, she's a media person. Like she can introduce herself. She's
I
good.
can yap. I can definitely yap. And hopefully that makes your job a little easier. So also kind of cut out here. Not sure if you can see it. I am a radio show host for 93.7 The Ticket FM, based out of Lincoln, Nebraska. And my show is kind of a seasonal show, runs on Sunday nights from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we are called The Finish Line. So me and my co-host James Rowland talk about primarily dirt car racing. Was last year was our first run at it, but we'd really like to get into more forms. And we did dabble a little bit with that. So we had a gentleman from F1 who works with Mobile One, and he was super cool. He talked about the tech side of things because, you know, you and I, Haley, we're used to running on dirt, and our engines aren't quite up to par with what those Formula
Oh
One
no.
drivers have. No, not at all. And we just turn left. Sometimes hit a tractor tire here and there, you know, the
The wall.
usual. Yeah, well, scrape the wall, whatever. Fun times, you know, got to spice it up for the fans. But that was really cool to hear about what they do, and the engines that they're limited to have in a season. And then we also talked to a gentleman who owns a road course. We talked about some autocross stuff with SCCA, so a lot going on there. And then I'm also, I said I was a busy bee. I'm also a group fitness instructor, so I teach boot camp and fire classes at Good Life Fitness in Lincoln as well. So a lot going on there. Um, did I hit on everything?
You hit on everything I had notes on. I was gonna ask, so I
Okay.
was gonna ask you what your New Year's resolution is. I was going to say we're going to start out funny and then we're going to go more serious. But the
Okay.
funny note that we're going to start out on is what is your New Year's resolution? Because all of us have these funny New Year's resolutions and we never stick to them.
Oh,
Do you
not
have
at all.
one?
I used to do one every year. Um, I never stuck to them. Like January 1st, I was like, well, that's the day after. I mean, that is New Year's Day. That's after New Year's Eve. You've been up till midnight, sometimes later. I'll start January 2nd, and then it never happens. So usually my New Year's resolutions actually start probably about a month before the race season, got to fit into that fire suit. But on a more serious note, what I'd like to do is I'd like to um breathe a little bit more and kind of soak. I do a lot of things and I want to really step back and kind of soak up the moment and experience everything. So I'm not missing a beat, I'm not missing a detail because I'm rushing through. So that's kind of my New Year's resolution. Just enjoy life a little bit more. Not quite as funny.
You're
Maybe
gonna
not
be in the
yap so
gym more.
much. I don't know. Oh yeah, we'll be in the gym more. I ate so many Christmas cookies over the last 2 weeks. It's ridiculous. My body's
So
not functioning right.
mine isn't either. I think I ate like 4 cookies one night and I was like, okay, I gotta stop. That's a lot.
That's it.
That's it.
Just
Yeah.
four rookie numbers,
Well,
Haley. Rookie numbers.
so with your fitness, how did you get into that? What do you have a passion for it? What made you have the passion for it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I growing up, I was a dancer. So, I did go-karts a little bit because of my older brother got into them, but I originally started off in tutus. So I was wearing tights, tutus, I did ballet, I did jazz, hip hop, stunting, like cheer stunting. I did tap, I did lyrical, I did all forms of dance is what I did there from first grade up to my senior year of high school. So we started to kind of intertwine racing into that because our dance schedule was during the school year, and then the summer breaks is when we were racing. But I always kind of had a passion for group exercise in that way because there's a lot of different conditioning and like pushing yourself to be better. And then I graduated and I kind of felt lost a little bit. And that's when my racing stopped getting serious too. Like I was going to community college and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was working at a barbecue joint, knew that wasn't my full potential and that's not what I wanted to do forever. And then was kind of in this weird limbo. Like I tried CrossFit a little bit. It scared me. No hate on CrossFit. It just scared me a lot. And then COVID happened and it just kind of seemed like my world kind of closed down on me.
Like, what do you do?
And
What do I do right
yeah,
now?
yeah, I tried the online fitness stuff, and if it works for you, that's great. Those who are listening are probably picking up that I am a yapper. I like to talk, I like to chit chat, I like to mingle, and so that really, I wasn't getting anything out of it, and I just stopped. And I ended up um, gaining, I think, about 70 pounds. It was over the span of a few years, but not a lot of people know that I do battle with depression and that kind of set in and I wasn't as positive as I could have been and I kind of just found an excuse for not moving and not making myself happy in that way. Fast forward, I had a friend who was in the gym and I actually raced with her. And she invited me to a free week and it was at Good Life Fitness and it was a kickboxing class. And so like with the depression and everything that was going on, I was able to take my anger out on this bag. And the adrenaline rush that I got from it, the endorphins that came in, it was like this. I felt like a fresh person from that one class. Like I was sore and tired, whatever, but I felt like I had this mood booster. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do another week of this. And next week, I'm going to try to push myself harder. I'm going to try to do all the movements if I can, or try to at least do all the cardio movements, whatever the case is. And I just kept pushing myself to be better each and every single time I went to the gym, which sounds kind of cheesy, but I mean, it was COVID time. What were you going to do? Like,
There was nothing else to do. I did the
yeah,
same thing.
yeah, but we all had like X's on the floor that we had to stand on. So I kind of joined at a weird time, but it 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 really pushed me. And then I started to think, well, hold on. I like helping people and I miss the Bree who was super outgoing and wasn't afraid to talk to anyone. And so I was like, well, maybe I could become a teacher. It was a really scary thought. So I was like, I need to be the best form of myself before I try teaching. And so I just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And I lost about 40 pounds before I was asked to be a boot camp instructor, just because they had seen me go and I was coming back out of my shell like the person I was when I was in high school. And they're
What
like,
was
hey,
the
do you want
time
to
period on that?
um
From the time you started till the time that you lost the weight and you regained Bree back
yeah.
and you were asked to be an instructor. What's the time on that?
I think it was a year and a half, maybe. A year and a half sounds about right. So that was, I think I was at either 30 or 40 pounds down by the time they had asked me. And the reason they asked me wasn't dependent on what my weight was or my
Mhm.
fitness level. It was what my dedication was. And they had seen my
Enthusiasm.
dedication. Yeah, exactly. Like, can I motivate other people? And they actually didn't know that I had lost that much weight when they asked me. So they were like, what? And I was like, yep.
It was like
But
they were like, "Oh
anyways,
my gosh, that's
yeah,
great."
they're like, oh, fantastic. Yeah. But I ended up losing the weight and then I became an instructor and I actually was teaching 6 a.m. classes, which holy smokes,
Oh
I
gosh.
like to sleep in, but it was another challenge. Like I love to challenge myself. And it was just another challenge for me. And I met a lot of great people through it actually. And 2.5 years later, I'm still instructing boot camp and I now teach a group fitness class called Fire. So it's pretty fun.
That's awesome. I feel like for people that are listening, they don't know you and they've just watched a podcast about me. They're probably making some connections here. So between the two of us. So Bree actually asked me to be on her radio show was that June or July? July. Well,
Sure.
one of
I
the
don't remember,
either of
but I
them.
was like, I gotta have her on. You
So
seem like such a sweet person, and I followed you on TikTok, and on Facebook, and we got to talking, and I was like, I want to hear your story. So, and I know our viewers really loved it. I think we had like a 5,000 view jump from our previous videos once we uh interviewed you. So that was really cool too.
Oh, that's great. So we kind of met there. We had talked a little bit, but not very much. And then after that podcast, we were both like exchanged numbers at that point, and we
Mhm.
just started Snapchatting and like messaging all the time. And you and I hit it off. So the more I talk to you now, the more I'm also learning. And it sounds like we have similar stories in a lot of aspects. So that's really cool. So let's talk about We talked about your fitness instructing. Let's talk about your job. So you not only race,
Oh,
you not only race, but you also work for a company that has racing. So let's talk about it.
yes, I totally forgot that in the introduction, and I felt like I was missing something, but no, I work for Speedway Motors. So I'm the marketing project manager there. And I started off and again, like if you kind of connect the dots, this was over a 7 year period of time. I worked at the barbecue place. I was going to community college. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Then I fell into this rut for a few years. And then I found the gym and like through all this, my professional career also developed. So I quickly changed from the barbecue place to working in the customer experience center. So taking phone calls, sales phone calls for Speedway, because they're in my hometown, Lincoln, Nebraska. And then after I think my 90 days as a just taking orders, I moved up to the customer support team. So if there's ever a problem with anyone's order, whether it be an international overseas order or it could even be in Lincoln, it could be in Missouri, wherever, I would help them out with that. I would do some investigating to see what was going on. Maybe a package was lost in transit. or maybe a product was mislabeled or just something that, is pretty typical. That's what I helped out with. And then I started to kind of dabble a little bit with our marketplaces teams. So our Amazon and Facebook listings. I'd kind of help learn about customer support over on that side, and then I would bring it over to our call center side. And I'd do that, and I did that for about a year and a half, and then I moved up and became a trainer. I did that for 3 years. I taught our sales agents how to do their job. I helped facilitate training for customer support. And then we finally were able to kind of hand that off. We created modules on how to do your job, how to better yourself, certain tricky situations that might come up. And so I really kind of transitioned with our training team. It was just two of us. We went from just being trainers, like classroom style, to um, uh, learning and development. I want to say officiant. That's not the word for it. I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart here. But learning and development professionals, that's the word. No one's
There you
getting
go.
married. Yeehaw, sorry, we got there. But we did that, and that was a lot of fun. We got to go to Florida through the company and learn some more about what other people in our field were doing. And then after that, I was like, I'm having fun with this. I love teaching people. Like, that's my thing. But I think there's more potential that I can unlock in myself. And so I moved over to our e-commerce, then changed to content team. And I actually worked on uploading products to our website. So I went from talking to people all the time to not, but kind of training our customers in a sense online through product listings, as well as handling rebates and things like that. And then finally, in September of 2024, I was asked to be the marketing project manager since the position opened up. And now I'm having a blast. So
You look like you're
lots
loving
of
life.
yes, I really am. And it's a lot of fun because it's kind of something different every day. So whether it be planning for SEMA or something that or your listeners probably know better would be PRI, the Performance Racing Industry
Mhm.
Show at the end of the year that they just had in early December. So planning our event space, what's our booth going to look like? What products are we taking? Who's going? I got to get them hotel rooms, or also creating or working with our designers to create flyers and other little deliverables, or working with IMCA, the sanctioning body that I run, making sure that their banquet is up to par. They've got what they need as far as certain signage from us as we're one of their sponsors. So a lot of little different things. And then we also have a distribution center and counter. So you can walk into the real retail space in Arizona. So Tolleson, Arizona, we have that as well. And kind of working with them, getting car shows going. They just had one a month ago, I want to say, called Dino's Get Down. And it was a ton of C10 trucks. Like, think about a large parking lot of C10 trucks and then think
Gosh.
about more of them. And that was super duper cool as well, to be a part of. And Dino was a great guy. I don't actually know what his real name is, but I know he's a super cool dude. So if he sees this, shout out to Dino. But yeah, just a lot of different things on that side. So I've kind of been all over the company, but they've allowed me to grow. And they've helped kind of form me into the professional that I am today. So
Well, good. So I see all your posts about that. It's great. It's good to see you that happy with the new job. I know that it was a big leap of faith, but it's going good. So, how would you say working for Speedway has helped you in racing? Does it help you understand the cars more?
yes, 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 yes. It does. So I think it's one thing to have your dad teach you, and I think everybody kind of has it's like when your parents are teaching you math and you're sitting there and you're just scratching your head like, oh my gosh, my dad was lovely, disclaimer, love him, did a great job. But kids don't always listen to their parents. And so growing up, I'd sit in the garage with my dad and he'd be telling me all these things about the hot rod that he's working on. And I'm just sitting there
Like
like,
in one ear, out the other. What?
I'm not gonna remember any of that. But then I came to Speedway, and I think being on the phones and taking order calls is what taught me the most because I was constantly on our website or constantly and we had catalogs at that time in the catalogs and looking at product information and just learning what each thing was and then learning specs about it. And then there'd be these things that we call speedy tips that our techs would write that would be, hey, this is how you count the splines on a steering shaft. Or, hey, this is what a wrench size or what an AN wrench size would be closest to in standard or something like that. So I think I learned a ton through that. And so it's certainly helped. I'm like, oh, I know what that part is. And then my dad, obviously, when we started big car racing, he got out a bin of old random junky parts and made me go through them on the ground of the shop floor and name what they were too. But actually learning what the product did is what I learned through Speedway. So that was super helpful.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean because my parents tried to teach me anything in school. I think it's kind of just one of those things they say it in a way that their kids don't quite understand or want to understand. And then a teacher or a teacher that's not your teacher comes in and explains it and you ace the homework. Whereas before you were failing them because you
I
just didn't understand it. It's the same with race cars. Like
Yeah.
me and my dad butt heads on race cars because he explains it in a different way that I don't understand because it makes sense in his brain. But when we take a step back and I'm like, wait a minute, I need to know why, and I figure it out. So
Yeah.
not only do I understand what you mean, but correct me if I'm wrong, you have a home built motor, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Right now we do. That was a huge task that we took on last year, so 2024 season, and it was just something I wanted to do. Like growing up, dad he was on a race team before I was born, and then while I was a baby, he was still on the team, and then eventually the classes changed, and dad, obviously became more present in our lives because I wasn't a baby anymore. Um, but the way they did things was, they'd build a motor and then they'd do it in a day and then drop it into the car and then go win races or go compete. And then maybe something happens, they need to get back in that motor real quick and adjust something, which you can't do with a sealed motor, which is so there's the crate motors and the claim or the open motors. So the two different classification of motors that you could run in most classes. And I was like, well, why don't we get back to the roots? That was not something that is a typical experience, I feel like, in our classes nowadays for most people, because you can buy so many open motors, which are really fast and really good. I just wanted to try and build one. I wanted to see what it was about. I wanted to see what it was going to take and if I could do it. Like my goal was to build it and it to run. And we did that. I had some great help from the Final Touch Auto Restoration Shop here in Lincoln, Nebraska. They really took me under their wing and helped me out with the whole thing. I joke around, they just let me touch it, but it runs. So that was a lot of fun to do. And I think we might be going to paying for a built motor for 2025 just to get some more performance advantages out of it. Like my motor runs really well and I love it, but I also need a spare. So we're going to kind of take all the bolt-ons off of it and then put it on a built motor that we're going with right now, which is a secret. And then we're going to keep the other one as a spare in case we need it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
My dog's
Do you
barking.
feel
I'm
like
so sorry.
empowered? Oh, you're
I
fine.
do. Can you hear my dog? I'm so sorry.
Uh-uh.
Oh, you can't? Okay, this is
Uh-uh.
weird. She's
There's
barking.
dogs up there too, so it's okay.
Okay, good deal. She's being extra. I'm very sorry. She must get it from me. But I may or may not have cried when
Oh,
we first
well,
started it
good.
off. I was just, sometimes you feel like you just can't do things. You don't feel like you're good enough. And just to start it up and it run and not die, it was just a whole wave of emotions that happened. Like our motor last year was home built. Our transmission, my dad built. My dad, he was a huge help. He also, our headers were built. Um, we did our own body, so bending the metal, cutting it out, putting it on the car. Semester that was built as well. So there was a lot of things in the car that were we built it. We did that and then it went out and it competed. We unfortunately didn't get any my dog's still barking. I'm so sorry. We unfortunately
You're
didn't
fine.
get any A feature wins this year in the sport mod. We did get some heat race wins, which I mean it's still fun.
Hey, that's
Doesn't pay
more than I
anything
got,
though.
so you're good.
Girl, you took some time off, don't even. I saw your run the last few races, but and then we got some preliminary feature wins like B features and last chance qualifiers, which again don't pay anything, but it was still a lot of fun. The highest we finished was second place, and then we have a couple top fives as well in the A features. So we're definitely looking to push a little bit more. And it was funny. We really thought we were gonna have that first win when we got the second place. But the guy who was behind me he was on another level. I think he was 5/10 of a second faster than like everyone. It was crazy, but he was really hooked up and he ran me really clean. There was 3 laps to go and he went to pass me on the bottom. And you get that split second, you're like, I could be dirty
Oh,
right now, but there was no reason to. Like he was running me clean. That wasn't my race to win, and I was totally fine with that. I was actually having some mechanical problems with the motor we had just built. It ended up being our rev box was like glitching out or shorting out or whatever. So I'd go in and then there was a bunch of popping. And
oh gosh.
it wasn't like you were hitting the rev limiter. It was like an electrical problem. So, I was sitting there, I was going in the corner and then I just heard a pop, 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 pop. And then I'd come out of the corner, pop, pop, pop. And then it'd go. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how long we can hold on. So that wasn't our race, but it was a fun one. It just kind of slipped away, but it was still like we made it. That was
Yeah.
our second was our highest finish in a sport mod ever. And it was crazy that it was the first year owning the car and calling the shots on it. And then we also is our first home built motor. So there were a lot of little wins actually going on throughout the season for
There
us
was
in
a
that
lot of little
aspect.
wins, is what it sounds like. And those are so great to have those because you can build off of those. And like next season, you have so much more to look forward to. Um, Not only with that motor and with the other components of the car that you guys hand built, but also the time that you spent within it. Like you can build off of all of those aspects. I want to touch on a few things that you said. So I want to go back to um, how you talked about sometimes we don't feel so empowered. And I want to ask you a little bit about that. But I also want to say I've also had like the MSD wires burn up. I started front row of a heat race at our local track. My
Oh,
I can't remember if it was my first or second year, and I've only been racing. This will be my fifth season coming up. And I was literally going to start, and it burnt so bad that it just shut my whole car down. Like they had to push me off the track. The people behind me like piled into me. So I definitely get
oh no.
I get what you mean. We were like tearing stuff apart trying to look at it. And we're like, we can't fix that here. So, you know. But definitely you had some small wins, so that's great. Going back to you not feeling empowered, do you feel like that's something that you've always struggled with, trying to find empowerment in things for yourself?
Yeah, I think that's that kind of goes back to, having depression and kind of battling through those things. But what I found was, I'm someone I'm pretty hard on myself, and I'm always trying to be better. But growing my social media this year, I was really just testing things out. I wasn't in a marketing job yet, but I was like, I wonder if I could do this. And so I had a couple theories that I was running about, the how much information I put in my posts, how serious I was getting, what types of posts I was making. So photos, videos, reels, things like that. And luckily, we ended up gaining almost 3,500 followers this year. So that was
Quite a bit from the
crazy.
time I started following you too. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and your engagement like skyrocketed.
It was so weird. It's so weird. I was so thankful for it, but what also came with it that I wasn't prepared for, there was a lot of positivity and there was a lot of good engagement, but there were also some negative comments and reactions to posts. And I ended up taking those to heart a little bit, to like, sometimes it's hard to sleep at night, and like sometimes you go to the racetrack and people you race with aren't being the kindest. But maybe I wasn't being the kindest either. And it just wasn't something that I was prepared for. And I think I took it a little too much to heart. And so that was a little tough on that part. Like that started to kind of have me feeling down. Like I didn't start my page for my aunt to see some negative things being said or rumors being said or whatever the case was. Like I did it for fun. I do it so I can fund my program. Um, so that was something that, and it kind of happened mid-season, that it put me down a little bit. And I've been, getting back up from that. Um, it's kind of
People
opened
are
my
mean.
eyes. They are mean for no reason, and they'll
Brutal.
message you things, or they'll comment on other people's posts that are tagging you, or whatever the case is. And it's like it's not needed. But then it taught me that I can't post all of my feelings about a situation or a certain race on social media,
Mm.
because no matter what, if my following's bigger, there's going to be more negativity. Like that's what I've learned, and that's what I've also seen with other people's posts. Like I've only got 6,400 followers, which is a lot, but it's not a lot compared to some people. But it has like made me more aware, and like watching other people's posts, like holy moly, people, stop. And I'm sorry if I've ever done it, but it's ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
some of the comments and reactions to things aren't needed. But it is what it is. Like we put ourselves
Yeah.
out here, that's the risk that we take. And so I think that kind of goes with the New Year's resolution of trying to soak in the moments a little bit more, and really experiencing the positive things that are happening, and then learning from the negative ones that do happen. Because I was on such a go, go, go mode last season that when I did see the negative things, those forced me to
Brought you
stop and
all the way
reflect,
down.
and they brought me down. They brought me down so hard, for no reason. Like it's literally just words. It doesn't matter. But
Somebody in their mom's basement commenting
yeah,
mean stuff just because they're comparing their life to yours, and it's just not necessary. I totally get that. Totally get that. I have also taken a step back recently, the last couple years, but definitely recently since I've been home in June, and it's been great for my mental health. I don't think
mhm.
people really realize, like, when you put yourself out on social media, yes, we know that there's going to be bad comments and good comments. And it's so easy to look at someone and say, you should just listen to the good. Like, why do you, there's so many good comments, and there's 20 good comments and there's 3 bad comments. We're going to focus on the 3
Exactly.
bad comments because we are so hard on ourselves that we need to critique those things if they're real. Are they real? Are they not real? Are these people saying, are they just saying what people won't say to us? Things like that.
And
So
and some of them, like, if they're real, it is what it is. Like I'm not out here. I race a sport modified. I am not out here trying to go run a cup car with NASCAR on Sundays. Would it be cool? Yeah, it'd be super cool. Running with
Is that
the
the
Lucas
goal
Oil
maybe
Late
one
models
day?
would be super cool, right? But that's not what I'm doing. I enjoy posting about what makes me happy and the fun I have. And I used to get really raw with my emotions in my post, but then it kind of backfired because those people were also commenting. It's like, why don't we just talk? But um it
Let's
got
be
to a
adults.
point where I don't know, whatever. But it got to a point where I don't know if this is great, but if you if you comment something negative on my post, literally I will delete you and block you. And
What?
it has been glorious. My friends joke that I'm a little too quick to the block button, but if I
Mm-mm.
didn't have social media, those you say what you want behind my back. I don't hear it. I don't care, whatever. But when you say it to me, if I don't have a chance to respond, which you can't with social media, you cannot respond to those things, then
Mm-mm.
you kind of feel like you're getting trapped, and that kind of sucks. You feel voiceless in a sense, so just block them.
I'm quick to block too. I really am. And my my parents were like, "Why are you blocking that random old man?" I'm like, "Well, he left a comment that said blah blah blah, so there you go."
Yeah, it was like,
They're like,
don't like
"He's
that one.
harmless." I'm like, no, he needs to go."
Well, it starts opening up rabbit holes. And again, these are like 1% of the people that follow your page. It's a very
Yeah,
minute amount. And I understand that with the radio show, like we keep all the negative comments. It boosts engagement. Like we
it
want
does.
people to have a platform, obviously. But my racing page is not a platform for your opinions. You can use your own for that one. Granted, we probably shouldn't say them. And like I said, I learned this year that I can't have my raw emotions out there on social media because that will backfire. But yeah, block button. Hashtag if we're still using that, block button.
Hashtag block.
Yep.
So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. You mentioned that you're not out here trying to, you know, win the next Cup Series race every weekend. And I'm not either. But would that be awesome? I think we both have the same mentality of that. Yeah, somebody gives me the
Yeah.
ride tomorrow. I'm taking it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We'll try it out. And if we don't like it, we'll pivot from there. But also, we're having fun. Racing is a sport and a hobby. And like you and I have really started collaborating a little bit, and it's been fun to engage with each other and collaborate on social media. I think we need more of that because it only grows not only you, but me and each other. And we've created such a bond in that
Yeah.
way. But also other people need to take on that too. Like it's not so serious. We're also trying to have fun. We're all trying to grow the sport. We're all trying to race and perform the best that we can perform each weekend. So
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, I do like obviously there's a level of seriousness
yeah.
because we spend the amount of money that we do spend. Like this isn't not hating golf. Somebody's gonna come after me, but like this
I
isn't
feel like I play golf every weekend.
money on golf clubs, which I understand can be expensive. This is like 30,000 plus dollars of your hard earned money as well as your partner's money that you are spending every single year, and it goes up every single year by
Every
about
year.
probably $5,000 to $10,000. Like it is insane. And then you're also thinking about all the time that you spend, and then the meals you're missing out on, the friends parties that you're missing, or events that you're not able to go to with your coworkers because you've got obligations. Like
Yeah.
we literally eat, sleep, breathe racing. And that's why, and I assume this is why you also created your page, is like just to have a little fun spin off from it. Like being in the car is fun. It does get serious, but like at the end of the day, I'm mouth breathing in my helmet, and every single time I come out breathing super heavy, and I've got cotton mouth because I was smiling the entire time, or I was going, oh no, there's no, whatever. But like it's important to have those fun spin-offs as well, like social media, and to be able to share those with our followers is a lot of fun too. Like I have fans who are looking for the next post about where we're going to race, or they're looking for the next reel that we've created, and that is fun. So, you know, the negativity that happens at the track sometimes, we don't also want to bring it over to social media. And so that's why.
Yeah. Hashtag block. Well, in your social media, you're super bubbly in general. So we talked a little bit about how fitness helped get that, depression away, but also racing was such a negative, like people were just sharing the bad parts on social media, like, I don't know, 5 years ago or so. They were just tagging so and so wrecked me last weekend.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a whole lot of like fun racing pages back then. I mean, if we think about it, there were some, but there weren't that many. And so then in the last probably 5 years, we've seen a skyrocket of people showing the happy times at the racetrack and showing how racing is a community and a family. And I really think that that's both of our goals, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, yeah. And there's so many more. I feel like I've kind of gotten in this negative rabbit hole a little bit, and I apologize for that. But there are so many more positive things that come from racing alone. Like, we may fight, but if even if we're in the race together next and you need a hand, like I will help you and I know you will help me. Like that's just what it is. I had
Yeah.
somebody when I was spitting and sputtering my motor for a few weeks, didn't know why I ended up being the red box. I had a late model team come over and help me. Like I didn't know them, but they were there. And that's not something you see all the time. Like you go to the grocery store and maybe your car won't start. Many people are going to walk by you before one person with a pair of jumper cables is going to come out and help you. Or at the races, we hear that and we're like, oh no, like I'm here to race you. I'm not here to race a mechanical failure. And I think the community is huge. Like, if something happens with someone's family, there's always, if you're in the racing community, there's always a buttload of support that comes with helping you out. So I do think it's a very healthy environment that sometimes, like I said, you can hyper focus on the negative things. But there are a lot of good things that come from it as well.
Yeah. And that's where social media plays through. We can be like, oh, like this happened. And, this is not, I'm not bragging, but, here, I want everybody to see the good side. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. All right. That kind of brings me in to my next question.
Dun, dun,
This
dun,
is a
dun.
little funny. Has anyone ever intentionally like put you into a tire, or you put anybody intentionally into a tire yourself, or
Yes. Yes.
Hmm,
Yes and yes.
that's funny.
It happens. I don't think it's
Heat of the
anyone's
moment.
yeah, it's not anyone's fondest moment. And I think it was the intentional stuff was more of a, oh, you hit me, okay, last chance. Oh, you hit me again. All
All
right.
right, watch
I'm
this.
not going clean by you. Like I'm not trying to take you out, but I'm not gonna give you room if you're gonna run me dirty. Because when I first started, everybody, not everybody, but it felt like you'd get picked on at tracks that you weren't a local to because I was just a 16-year-old little girl. Like, oh, there's a little girl, let's knock her down or let's try to roughen her up or whatever. But now being older, and I think also like that 5 year that the shift in society a little bit and the culture, it's more like I feel like that isn't a thing really much anymore. I just felt like it when I was younger. And then so it got to a point where I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like you're gonna hit me, I'm gonna hit you right back. And then
Did you feel like you
um
had to? So you're saying you felt like you had to prove yourself?
yes,
Okay.
yes,
I felt the
a
same
lot.
way. So I was gonna ask you your thoughts on that because I felt like when I started I had to prove myself because these guys would just go off and use my left side up when I was running the top and I'm like, hey buddy, I'm there. Like,
I'm not the wall, I'm not your bumper, but
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, like I was not proud of that. But it's like I had people come up to me and tell me that if I keep letting people hit me or use me up, they're going to keep doing it. And so it wasn't, I wasn't happy about it. Like it wasn't something that I was like, haha, bleh. Was I mad? Of course. Like we're still racers. It still takes something in your brain to make you want to compete in whatever sport you do. So you're going to be passionate about it. Um, Now growing older, it's not really a thing anymore. I think there's a lot of mutual respect, but there is certainly like I'm gonna race you how you race me. Now, are there times when I have accidentally hit people. Yes. I had my
Oh,
steering shaft
everyone
come
does.
out. Yeah, like I've had my steering shaft come out and I totally wrecked a guy because my whole like I going to turn and the set screw came out for
But you
the
imagine your wheels going all over the place in there. So,
always so your car's oh yeah, the wheel in there
yeah,
came to my chest and I was like, uh-oh, that's not connected. So then I tried to push it down and it wasn't gonna go back in its hole. Like,
at that
can't
point, you're
see
not
that.
even worried about what you're doing on the
Yeah.
track. You're
I was
worried
just
about
like
the inside.
waving my hands and luckily I was running the bottom. I was like, I don't know what to do. Hopefully nobody's there. And my car like has that natural turn. So it was turning down into the infield anyways, which was great. But I ended up collecting a guy from it. And I felt really bad because I'm pretty sure I broke some of his front suspension because he was behind me and then it just went like that right away. So like those instances happen as well. And those do suck. And those um sometimes people are like, well, why didn't you come talk to me? And I think I guess talking to veterans about it because I've asked them for, their take on a lot of different things. They'll say there's the heat of the moment. You don't come up to somebody during the heat of the moment. It can
No.
make matters worse. No matter what you say, their race car is still broken. If you wait a week and then go talk to them, which I think is a little bit more common, it's what I usually do. Unless it was like a mutual, we both just went
Yeah. Or
whatever,
you
but
wait a couple days or,
yeah,
even till the next
or
morning if
like
they're a
shoot a
person you
message
know
or
is not
something. Yeah.
angry. Yeah. You
I'm
shoot them a
not gonna go
message.
up to your pit. Like we used to do that with go-karts. I'm not doing that with big cars because the last time I did that, crew guys were coming at me. And like
And we're women.
race wives, well, I don't even care about that. And like race wives were coming at me, screaming. I'm like, I'm just here to say sorry and to ask if you
Yeah.
need anything. Like, I'm willing to take something off of my car to help you.
Yeah.
But we've gotten so far in society that yes, the culture is different, but there's also this everyone's out to get you
Mhm.
mindset sometimes, especially when you're mad. And I think it's just human nature. But I've found it's better to just let things like cool down and then talk to someone. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, yes, I've definitely like in a go-kart, especially go-karts different. Like, I don't know. We
That's
as
different.
adults,
That's
when we get back in one, it's a little different. Like if you hit me, I'm gonna hit
more
you.
fun though,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whereas you
Well,
have these big cars out there that are so much more money. You don't want to intentionally tear those up. But go-karts, it's like me and my dad and my uncle, we're like, okay, watch out. I'm gonna move you out the way.
yeah. Well, if and again, that's one of those things that it's like if you're running me dirty, I'm gonna run you the exact same way.
Yeah. And I kind of agree with what you said too. When we started out, we started at different times. So you never told the viewers, how old are you?
Haley, how dare you? No, I'm kidding. I'm 25. Only 25. Such a
She's
spring chicken.
only 25.
Yeah.
Really, you are though. And I'm 21. So we started at different points in our life. You've raced a whole lot longer than I have. But when I started, I also had the same mentality of I have to prove myself. And
Mm.
it did get to the point for like 2.5 seasons where my dad was like, listen, like we're tired of watching them use you up like this. You're going to have to do something. And other people were coming up to me, you're going to have to do something about it. And I
It's
have
like you don't
emotions,
want to.
obviously, but I don't have like a mean bone in my body
Mhm.
to be mean to other people. So to give it back to them, like I would always just give too many chances. So finally, I just stopped
Yeah.
giving as many chances. And I was like, okay, here's a right rear. Like, here's the quarter
Yeah.
panel. Sorry about you. You're going to run me like
Yeah.
that. I'm going to go across your nose. And then you're going to
Yeah.
learn to not run me like that. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you
100%.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Man,
funny.
that's the up close and personal stuff.
I know. I know.
I can't hear you. Oh, your mic sound suppression. That's why. I can't hear you.
So the batteries in this
Now I
thing
can.
die so fast. So I was smart
Oh,
enough to keep batteries beside me.
so proud of
Listen,
you. So
yeah,
proud.
I figured that out last time when my mom and I were doing a podcast. It just died. And I was like, okay, we're going to have to fix that. So, okay, we had technical difficulties, and this is like the fourth time trying to film this, but it is okay. What is the best piece of advice that a mentor has ever given you?
So, a best piece of advice. There was two pieces. So the first one was don't put yourself in a position to be wrecked. And then the second one was it's a race car. They're meant to be ran hard. Um, so those were probably two of my favorite pieces. The position to be wrecked was you can go out there and you can drive like an idiot, um, or not drive it hard enough, and the whole field's coming at you. Like there's a chance you're putting yourself in that position to be wrecked because you're running the way you are. You're driving it the way you are. It's going to happen, and you can't be upset when it happens because although it looks like their fault, you put yourself in that spot. Like you didn't give them room when they clearly had the faster line. You were going top to bottom, top to bottom. You were using the whole entire track. Like you can't be mad about those things. So don't put yourself in a position to be wrecked. And that was something I learned in go-karts, actually. And then the one I learned in big cars a few years ago where was that it's a race car. They're meant to be driven hard. And there was a time period when I wasn't really running it as hard as I could have, and it was kind of in that rut that I was in for a few years. When I would race half seasons because I didn't feel like racing anymore because I was just so down. Like there's other things in your life that can affect you being able to participate or still do your hobbies, and that's what was going on in my personal life. But it all stemmed from, I think what it was there's one time I was running up high and I jumped the cushion and ended up just like backing the car into the concrete barrier, the wall, and it destroyed the rear clip. So that's right behind the driver's seat. It destroyed the rear clip of the car, absolutely totaled it. And then it also pushed one of the bars behind me into my seat, which went into my back. And so I was in there like curved like this, sitting there. And I remember the first thing I did was I was like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? Like, is this worth it? And I wiggled my toes and I like started moving my head around and I was like wiggling my fingers and I couldn't see my toes wiggling, but I could see my feet moving. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I'm good. I think I just got really lucky. And I did. I got so incredibly lucky. But obviously, like I was crying because I thought I just changed my
Paralyzed
life.
yourself.
Yes, thought I changed my life forever over a race car. And I was so upset. I was also upset that I just destroyed my car.
Yeah.
Um, so
So
that
you
kind
deal
of
with that in your
yeah,
head. You, without knowing it, the next time you strap in the car in the next, however long it takes you, you are thinking of it. Not consciously, maybe, but subconsciously.
100%. And that kind of made me timid for a handful of years, actually. Like I'd run it, but I wasn't running it as hard as maybe I could have. Or I'd only run it hard when it was tacky because when I jumped the cushion, it was dry. There was a dry, slick track. It had a cushion though, and I jumped it and I destroyed everything because I was too aggressive with it. And so that just kind of it deterred me from doing those things. And then a veteran in the racing community who used to build motors, actually, his name's Larry Pierce. He came from Florida back down to Lincoln for something, and he told me, he's like, Bree, race cars are meant to be driven hard. You gotta push that thing. And he was right. He was absolutely right. Once I started driving it harder, it started the setup needed changed immediately because
It
obviously
performed
it
how
started
it's supposed to.
yeah, and then you're like, oh boy, what's going on here? So that changed a lot of things. But I feel like this podcast is about being open and honest. And honestly, that's what my experience was. So that was it was a very vague statement, but it was a really important message that I received that has
Yeah.
helped me out a lot. So
Yeah. So I wrecked my B mod the third night out because a guy and I ended up pushing because I was just tight, like I was throttle tight, but the track was also tacky, so that didn't help, and a
oh
whole bunch
nope.
of other factors. And he pushed up into me, and I caught the wall, like my right front, and I hit the wall, like fuel started dripping. Third night out in a car, like unbuckled
Mhm.
myself, hit my head on the cockpit, the roof, and it was a big ordeal. And I was the same way for, I'd say, about a season and a half. I was in A mods at that point the next season. And my dad was like, okay, I don't know what to do with your car because you're not running it hard enough for me to even know what it's doing. So you need to go out there and push the gas and
Yeah.
race with these guys because I know that you can do it. You're just too scared. And until you do that, I don't know how to set up your car or help you. You know, I can't listen to you because you're getting tight because you're not running it hard enough. And I was like, oh. So I took a few seasons off, or not really off, but didn't race as much, kind of like you, kind of had some different things happen to make me make that decision. But this last like 6 months that I've been in a car is the hardest I've ever raced a race car. And
And
I
it's
think
showing
that,
though. I've
yeah,
I've seen your results, I've seen your videos, like you're giving them a run for their money for sure.
well, I appreciate it. I think a lot of that's determination. I'm now I've got the determination back that I need. But now that you've said the best advice that a mentor has ever given you, what do you believe the biggest misconception about female racers is? We're getting
That's
personal on that one too,
Yeah, we are.
because we're both female racers. We got to.
That everything's handed to us.
Oh yeah, you said it.
That's probably the most annoying thing that I hear is that everything is handed to me or it's all my daddy's money or whatever the case is. Like, no, it's not. Um, when I started, my dad flipped the bill for most of it, and I was very happy for that. But don't be mistaken, we were on a 2001 Sartison chassis. It was square tubed, um, bright orange, and that was in 2016. Like that was an old car, and it was sitting in someone's yard. I
Yeah,
didn't come out in brand new equipment or proven equipment. I didn't just spend $30,000 on something. We were given that chassis for like $500. Or like now even I've got my full-time job and then I've got two part-time jobs. One I do all season, one I only do during the race season. And then I'm working on my social media, which people may love and they may hate, but that is making me money. Like that is another form of income, and that's why I do it. Or talking to the people that I do and establishing the relationships that I do. Like that is hard work too. I work on my car. I work to get money, and then I work to get money, and then I work even more to get money. And then I'm out there interacting with the fans mainly because I love it, but I want them to see like that I'm not somebody who thinks too highly of myself that I can't come talk to you. Like I want you to have just as much fun as I'm having when you're watching the car.
yeah,
And I feel like sometimes like I'm not going to be naive to the fact that yes, sometimes it's easier to get a sponsor because you are female. But I think that's a very big blanket statement for you're not seeing how hard I'm trying.
yeah.
Like the 10 yeses that you see that are on my car came from
50
100
no's are behind
no's.
it.
Yes,
Yep.
100 no's. And you didn't see that, but I took that. I didn't just ask my neighbor for a sponsorship. Like I went through, I spent hours on a sponsorship letter and designing it and working with a couple people on it. And then I went and I put myself out there. I researched these companies and how I was best going to merge with them and what I could do for them. And then I customized the package options to what would work best for them. And a lot of them said no. Like it's not given to us.
Yeah.
It's really not.
It's hard
Um,
work, and people don't
it is.
see, they see us on social media and they're just like, and I'm speaking for hopefully both of us, and you can correct me if I'm wrong at any point, but they see that we're women, and I'm not going to call myself gorgeous, but you're beautiful.
Are
And,
as well.
but you know what I mean? You know why I can't do that. But like they see women on social media and beautiful women at that, and they just think that everybody's like, "Oh yeah, here's a sponsorship." No. Like you don't know how many emails I've sent to companies that have never responded
Or the
about
ones
a
you have to
sponsorship.
filter out.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand that either. Like,
No.
obviously, I'm going to post a picture of me with my hair done and my makeup done. I like to get dressed up sometimes. I also like to get dirty and look like
Mhm.
a wet mop from the
A
80s and my hair is
hobo.
all crazy. Like it happens, but there's so many things you have to filter out too, which
Yeah.
is where the block button comes in. But we
Hmm.
also have to be careful with our partnerships because sometimes there's hidden agendas behind them. And I've actually talked to this about other partners, and like they totally agree with me. And that's where we've kind of established a safer range or like kind of vetting certain things out because I'm here for my business and your business to work together. And a lot of people, don't get me wrong, are on the same page. It's just
Hmm.
sometimes you can't turn a shoulder or have a blind eye. You have to be very careful, which is another thing that we have to do. Like
Hmm.
I can't just be like, okay, yeah, I'll take your money, whatever. Like, I'll put your sticker on the car. Da, 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 da. There has to be contracts. There has to be a written out plan, and you have to make sure you're safe about it too. And I
Especially
think,
being a woman in the field.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, being a young woman,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it
Do we
can,
have to be? Go ahead.
oh, sorry. Being a woman can help. The like you said, like I'm bubbly, you're bubbly. It, sometimes it's fun to be around. Some people think I'm weird, whatever, I don't care. But
They're
it
weird too. It's
helps.
fine.
Yeah, they're weird. They're different weird, but it helps. But you also have, there's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes. And so
That
it's
people
really
don't see.
nice. Yeah, it's really nice. Like with all of my sponsors, obviously, like they've been vetted. I've had conversations with them on the phone. We've emailed back and forth. Like I've met a lot of them in person. Like they are good, honest people. And I love that. And so, but I don't think people see the behind the scenes things where you have to have conversations with these people to kind of feel them out because you want to make sure you're putting yourself in a safe position.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my soapbox. It's the misconception is that females are handed everything, and that's not always the case. Sometimes it is, but you know what? Sometimes guys are handed everything, and if they are, good for them.
Good
I
job.
would like to have everything handed to me. Like, why wouldn't you? You're not gonna say no to that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Sharing is caring.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take some moolah.
Oh my gosh. I like that you said that though, because the people's comments that I read sometimes I'm like, if you only knew, if you only knew, if you could see the amount of emails that I've sent through Ghost Family Racing
Mm-hmm.
versus the ones that I've got back, you'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you'd be surprised.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay. We're down to the last couple questions. So, this one is how do you want to be remembered both in the racing world and the world outside of racing? You've talked about being bubbly and happy and positive and wanting to make positive impacts on people's lives. Let's talk more about that. How do you want to be remembered?
So, I think I'm just gonna say this. I think it's important to take a step back and like, especially with the kind of racing we do, know that in 50 years, people aren't gonna know us. They're not gonna know our names. They're not gonna remember our names. But the people that I have crossed paths with, um, I hope that if they hear my name or it gets brought up in conversation for whatever reason, or maybe they see me picking out candles at the grocery store, um, that a memory comes back to them of somebody who was just goofy and happy and didn't give up and just was enjoying life and was enjoyable to be around and also like for the kids safe. Like that's a huge thing for me. I had a lot of kids following me around this past year and the year before when I ran go-karts indoors because I it was a lot of, like it was somewhat draining at a point. I mean, you're spending 12 hours a day with kids. No adult's gonna say they weren't drained, but it wasn't a bad drain. It was I was putting all my energy into making sure that they were okay, that they
Mhm.
didn't feel like they were being judged by an adult, or they didn't feel like an adult was pushing them too hard or being mean to them, because I think it's important for kids to still have fun. Like we we tell Henry, my boyfriend's son, cool, calm, collected all the time is super important. But after the race, I'm like, hey, buddy, did you have fun? You have a good time? And he gives me a thumbs up. Like that's important no matter how he finishes. So I think it, I just if I cross paths with someone and for some reason I cross their mind, I hope it's a pleasant memory. Um, a genuine pleasant memory is what I hope they they have.
I think it's so easy for people in the racing world and us at times to be overstimulated or mad at the car, or we just want to hide in the trailer because we are feeling like our introverted side has come out that night. We're not as extroverted that night because I'm a very extroverted introvert. Need my
Mhm.
alone time too. And when I'm moody, I'm moody. But it's also important to remember that these fans are here to see you. So their interaction with you is something they're going to likely always remember because they came for you. And it's especially true with like the way we put ourselves out on social media. Never do we want to be fake, but we always want to be inclusive of everyone and just our happiest self. But also at times it's okay to be real with the fans too. Like, sorry, I'm having a bad night. I'm a little down. Not the person that you see maybe on social media every day, but I really want to spend good quality time with you. Let's talk, and having those interactions is really what makes it all worth it.
And I can't think of a time where, I was upset about how the night ended. And then, you kind of put on a face and your fans come up to you and you get the first hug or you sign the first autograph of the night. I can't think of a time when that didn't instantly uplift my
It
mood.
lights you
Like,
up.
I can't think of a time when I didn't feel better after interacting with fans and friends.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that like sometimes you have to push yourself because you're like, I am not thinking positively right now, and I don't want people to see me like this, or I'm so embarrassed I spun out or whatever. But you just got to go. And as soon as you get up there to talk to people, it's like it completely like 180 flips your mood and everything gets better.
Yeah. And it's like those little girls that come up and
Mhm,
maybe you did spin out. Maybe you spun out twice, three times the whole night. Like spun out in hot laps,
mhm,
spun once in
yep.
your heat race and then the feature and then, whatever. But the little girls just love that you're out there racing. Like they don't care.
Mhm,
They don't, the 8-year-old girl is just like, oh my gosh, she's out there racing. Like good
mhm.
for her. It's the little naive kids that I love. And I had a comment that her 8-year-old and 5-year-old daughters, it was a dad that commented this, look forward to every time I post a video. And I like cried on my way to work because I'm like, sometimes I get discouraged and I don't post the videos or I don't edit them in a timely
Yeah.
manner. And it's stuff I struggle with, but then those comments make it even more worth it at the end of the day. That's what we're doing this for.
Yeah. 100%. I agree.
Okay. So you touched on you were getting a new motor. That's a secret and a surprise. But what other plans do you have for racing within this next season?
So other plans I have is I'll be running weekly. Um, I hate saying 4 points because if you say you're running for points, something's bound to happen to
Yeah.
make it not work out for you. But I would like to try. Um, the highest I've ever finished when I did try for points was ninth. Which wasn't bad. That was still top 10. Still got a cool trophy out of it. But I would like to try again for points at a track. This will be my second time ever trying for points at a track, other than like go-kart days. So that'll be something that we're doing, but I think I'm only going to limit that to one track and then I'll race another night of the week if everything's going well with the car. Like I have one day that's going to be a priority day of the week, and then I'm going to try to go back to 2 nights a week racing. Um, just because like I'm 25, which is still pretty young, but eventually years down the road, not right now, not anytime soon. I do want to start a family. So, like,
Yeah.
I want to get all the racing out that I can now, obviously, because that's going to set you up for a couple years or forever. Who knows? But
Or they
I want
might get
to,
into racing and it become them, you know?
yes, probably. But I want to be more intentional about where I race, as far as points go. And then I also want to try some more tracks that I haven't done before. I also am going to try, we've got like a week long, almost a week long race called the Frostbuster. that IMCA has out in Iowa. And I've only ran one of the tracks, Boone Speedway, that is out there one time. And I was running second in a B and I got intentionally spun. You saw it. They called it Bad Dog, No Biscuit or something like that. And they sent
Oh,
him off the
wow.
track. But my starter, I'm gonna call it an output shaft. I don't think that's not what it's called, but it's like a little splined gear piece on it, completely sheared off. And I had too much adrenaline that when they tried to push me, I gave it too much gas and then just backfired. So I pulled in. But I'd only been there once, and that was a super fun experience. But there's like 4 to 5 different tracks, I believe, out in Iowa that you do a different track every single day. And that's in the beginning of the season. So I'm gonna try that out and see what we can do with absolutely zero expectations. Like I just want the experience of running different tracks and really trying to feel out the car because the car is new to us this year. And see what the car wants, not necessarily what the track wants. So that's gonna be kind of how we start off our season that way. So
But experience and seat time is everything. And new
yes.
tracks teach you so much more about you and your car that you
Mhm.
never knew if you keep running the same tracks, which I love that you mentioned the points too, but also switching it up and wanting to go to those bigger races that you haven't
Yeah.
really, you got to try a little bit, but you
Mhm.
haven't done it all the way yet. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I
No?
don't actually. No, we hit on a lot of great things. I do think we're definitely going to have to do have you on the radio show again because a lot of our listeners did like hearing from Miss Haley Gross. So we'll have you on, and I think we can talk about some more things there. But I feel like if I talk any more, I might give out too much information about the upcoming season, which I don't want to do yet because
Yeah,
who
surprise.
doesn't love a part two, right?
We'll bring you back on too, and then we'll be
Yeah.
like, so,
So, what's the deets? What's the juicy details? No, but I
okay.
I really appreciate coming on, and I hope I I told my story to the best that I could. And I hope people enjoy it, and if they don't, hashtag blocked. No, I'm kidding. Get that engagement up, Haley. But I hope
Uh,
everyone listening had a good time. So, and I hope you
would you?
did too.
Yeah, I did. Would you say we got personal?
We are personal. I've never shared this much information. I've never shared this much information about myself before, especially on a platform like this. So
I think that's
we'll
what
see.
people love. People love that. So they're going to love this podcast. They're going to love you. We'll have Bree back on here, I'm sure. Um, we'll both
I'm
have
down.
to collaborate some more. We're going to text after this, but thank you guys for watching this episode. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.